Obama has used the internet to connect volunteers with one another, and these volunteers go out and collect a massive amount of information on their neighbors. Some of you may be familiar with the interview by G. Edward Griffin with the KGB defector Yuri Besimov, and you may recall Yuri explained the fact that communists use spies. These spies collect the most mundane and routine information about people with whom they personally... These spies are not professional spies, they're volunteers. These volunteer spies collect routine, mundane information on their neighbors. And obviously, this information is sent into a central place. Combine this with modern day technology, and you are able to amass a detailed database so that in any city, any community of any city, you know who is likely to vote for McCain or Obama. You will even know who has already voted. You will know who hasn't voted, why they haven't voted, and what their concerns are. You can target these people by having volunteers call them or visit them in person. If you have tons of money, this is possible. If you have tons of money, you can send a volunteer to someone's house to talk to them about their hang-ups. You can send a volunteer to the home of an individual. You can take the time to have a volunteer not only call that person, but visit that person and explain to them why Obama's tax plans are better than McCain's tax plans. And if you fail to persuade the person, you go to your keyboard, the keyboard of your PC, and you enter in the information. This person remains unconvinced because of this issue and this issue. And if the campaign has sufficient money, now keep in mind most of this work is done for free by volunteers, but they're coordinated by professionals who are paid. And the thought I would like to lead you to, if I may, is the possibility that if they will go to this extent of trouble to collect a database on potential voters, don't you know they will collect a database, they will collect information on potential threats, no matter how small. They might even target a YouTube account as a potential threat and take note of those who subscribe to this account and target those subscribers appropriately. And I'll have you know that an individual has used subterfuge on me to obtain personal information such as my email address and phone number. When you combine the revelations of the sophistication of Obama's campaign using 1.5 million volunteers who are all hooked up electronically. It reminds me of the Borg, frankly. It reminds me of the Borg. But, you know, in a fictional Star Trek movie, the Borg are phenomenally successful. Nobody can stand in their way. And yes, they act collectively. They subordinate individualism to the collective. They're very much state-centered rather than individualistic. Let me direct your attention back to what I mentioned a moment ago about Yuri Besimov, the KGB defector. I was going to try to find for you a clip of what he said in his interview when he described an event in South Vietnam, and I think it was during the Tet Offensive when several South Vietnamese cities were overrun by the Viet Cong. And even though they only occupied these cities for a few days, all of the people who had influence, or all the people who could potentially have influence, all of the people who were in favor of capitalism, who were in favor of the West, who were in favor of the United States, and these were mainly, frankly, intellectuals and educated people and business people. During a course of a few days, all of the people that I described were executed. And Bezimov explains how the communists were able to locate these people so quickly, and in some cases locate them and arrest them in their homes, and execute them. And he explained that it's because communists collect information about people in their communities. In the process of me trying to find for you a clip where Yuri Bezimov explains this, I looked at several videos on YouTube where you can now easily find examples of various segments of this interview with Yuri Bezimov. But what I want to point out now at this time is that some of these channels and some of these presentations of G. Edward Griffin, no matter who it is he's interviewing, I found the same thing earlier in regards to Norman Dodd. The people who were presenting this material packaged it falsely. The presenters of the material packaged falsely Griffin's material. As you see here in these photos, these screenshots of a site on YouTube, nowhere in the interview did anybody suggest that Jews were behind this overthrow. It was plain from hearing the interview that Marxists, communists, were behind the overthrow. Marxists, communists, not Jews. Now, some Jews may be Marxist, but China, for example, was not taken over by Jews. Okay? Get it through your head. Cuba, for another example, was not taken over by Jews. It was taken over by Marxists. My point is, and I'll say it again, that some of the presentations that you will find on the internet have been repackaged in a misleading fashion, so that if you do not carefully discern the message, the actual message given by Bezimov or Griffin or Norman Dodd, you could potentially be misled into believing something totally opposite from what they're saying. And I can only surmise that communists, realizing that they cannot stop this information from coming out, can only subvert it, twist it, repackage it, put a spin on it,